Alright guys, so I need to give you a little bit of stuff on proportions. This stuff is actually much easier than the kind of recent stuff we've been doing. So I'm just going to give you just a tiny little taster. So proportions are usually written A colon B, and what we mean by that is basically A kind of things to B kind of people maybe or something. So you might notice that this is really a lot like, when I see one of these things, I really could think A things split by B people. The difference between a proportion and a fraction is really that the proportion doesn't really care which thing goes on top. If you just assume the first thing goes on top and the second thing goes on the bottom, that'll be totally fine. Okay? So let me give you an example of something we might use this for. This is kind of used to scale things most of the time. So let me say I had a recipe where I had 3/4 teaspoon of salt for 6 people. Okay, so 6 servings. Well, that would be as a proportion written 3/4 to 6. Right? And really maybe the units matter here. So that's teaspoons of salt to people. If I want to say scale that recipe up, like ask the question, how much salt, for 8 people, right? That's really me wondering, all right, 3/4 to 6 is really being equals something per 8, right? And so the way I'm going to set this up is I'm just going to say, all right, this is that, right? And I'm going to solve for the question mark. The way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to set this up as a fraction. So I'm going to say 3/4 over 6, right? That's all over 6 is question mark over 8. And now to solve this, I just need to multiply both sides by, I'm hoping you all are saying 8 in your heads. So if I multiply both sides by 8, the 8's will cancel on this side, and I'll get 8 over 1 times this stuff. So that'll leave me with 8 times 3/4 over 6 is question mark. And if I do a little simplifying here, I'll notice that 8 divided by 4 is 2, so I'll get 6 over 6. That means my question mark that I'm looking for is 1, right? So 3/4 tablespoon salt to 6 people is teaspoon of salt is 1 teaspoon of salt for 8 people. Okay? Don't worry too much about the messiness of these fractions. We'll talk about how to simplify those a bit better later. You might remember that there's something about like, oh, I can put the bottom over 1 and then flip this over and multiply or something. If you remember that, great. If you don't, we'll catch it in class as we're practicing. Cool?